The containment cell aboard the Zephyrian research vessel Dominant Claw had been designed to hold the most dangerous specimens in the galaxy. Its walls were forged from quantum-locked adamantite, capable of withstanding the fury of a dying star. The neural dampening field could suppress the psychic abilities of even the most powerful telepathic species. Yet as Commander Vexhar observed the human through the reinforced viewport, he couldn't shake the feeling that they had captured something far more dangerous than anticipated. Marcus Chen sat motionless in the center of the cell, his weathered hands resting on his knees in what the Zephyrians had learned was called meditation. 3 rotations had passed since his capture on the frontier world of Kepler 442b, and he had not spoken a single word despite their most sophisticated interrogation techniques. Increase the neural pressure by 15%, Vexhar commanded. His subordinate, a younger Zephyrian named Crixtal, whose forearms danced across the control interface with practiced efficiency. Sir, that level could cause permanent brain damage to most species, Crixtal warned, his mandibles clicking nervously. Humans are resilient, Vexhar replied coldly. The High Command wants to know how they coordinate their military operations without quantum communication arrays. This prisoner was a lieutenant colonel in their special forces. He knows their secrets. The neural field intensified, sending waves of psychic agony designed to shatter mental barriers and force confession. Most beings would be writhing in torment, begging for mercy. Marcus Chen's breathing simply deepened, his posture remaining steady as granite. Through the speakers they heard him begin to hum, a low rhythmic sound that seemed to resonate strangely with the ship's hull frequency. "What is that noise?" Crixtal demanded, his voice rising an octave. Vexhar frowned, studying the readouts. The humans' brainwave patterns were unlike anything in their xenobiological databases. Instead of the chaotic spikes of pain and fear they expected, Marcus's neural activity showed an almost mathematical precision, waves of thought flowing in perfect synchronization with his humming. "It's called a mantra," Marcus spoke for the first time, his voice carrying clearly through the comm system. "Something my grandfather taught me during the war back on Earth. He learned it in a place called Vietnam, from some very wise monks who understood that the mind is either a prison or a key depending on how you use it." The Zephyrian commander leaned forward, intrigued despite himself. "You think your primitive meditation can protect you from our technology?" Marcus opened his eyes, and Vexhar was startled by their clarity, not the glazed look of a broken prisoner, but the focused intensity of a predator studying its prey. "Your technology is impressive," Marcus acknowledged, slowly rising to his feet. "But it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of human psychology. You see pain as a weapon to break us. We see it as information to process." As he spoke, Marcus began to move, not the frantic struggles of a trapped animal, but deliberate flowing motions that seemed almost like a dance. Each step, each gesture, perfectly timed with the humming that continued to emanate from his throat. "Fascinating," Vexhar murmured, then barked an order. "Double the neural pressure, break his concentration." The field intensified again, but something impossible was happening. Instead of collapsing under the psychic assault, Marcus's movements became more fluid, more precise. The humming grew louder, and incredibly, the ship's hull began to vibrate, in harmony. "Sir," Crixtal's voice cracked with panic, "the resonance frequency is interfering with our containment systems." On the monitors, warning lights cascaded across multiple displays. The quantum locks on the cell door flickered. The neural dampening field wavered like a candle in a strong wind. Marcus smiled, not with triumph, but with the quiet satisfaction of an engineer solving a complex problem. "You studied our military tactics," he said conversationally, even as alarms began wailing throughout the ship. "But you never studied our philosophy. We have a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Your people have never experienced true adversity, have you, Commander?" The cell door shimmered and went dark as its containment field collapsed entirely. "Impossible," Vexhar breathed. "The quantum locks are unbreakable." "Unbreakable assumes you understand what you're trying to break," Marcus replied, stepping through the doorway as if it were merely an inconvenient curtain. Humans have been prisoners of gravity since we evolved, yet we learned to fly. Prisoners of our planet, yet we reached the stars. Prisoners of our biology, yet we transcended our limitations through will alone. Crixtal fumbled for his weapon, but Marcus was already moving with the fluid grace he had demonstrated in the cell. Years of combat training merged seamlessly with the meditative discipline that had turned the Zephyrian's own torture device into a key. A single precise strike rendered the young alien unconscious before he could draw his sidearm. Vexhar, veteran of a dozen campaigns, managed to raise his plasma rifle before Marcus reached him. But the human didn't attack. Instead, he simply placed one hand on the weapon's barrel and looked directly into the commander's compound eyes. "Your species conquers through technology and fear," Marcus said quietly. "Humans conquer through adaptation and hope. We don't just survive adversity, we transform it into strength. Every chain you put on us becomes a tool we can use to free ourselves." The plasma rifle's charge indicator flickered and died as the same resonant frequency that had collapsed the cell system spread through its circuitry. Vexhar dropped the useless weapon, his mandibles trembling. What are you?" Marcus picked up Crixtal's sidearm and checked its charge, his movements economical and professional. "I'm just a soldier, Commander, but I'm also proof that you picked the wrong species to enslave. Every human you capture, every world you attack, every chain you forge, you're not weakening us. You're teaching us how to be stronger than we ever imagined." As emergency lighting bathed the corridor in crimson, Marcus began making his way toward the ship's communication array. Behind him, Vexhar sat in stunned silence, finally understanding the fatal flaw in his people's intelligence reports. They had measured humanity's technology, cataloged their weapons, analyzed their tactical doctrines, but they had never comprehended the one trait that made humans truly dangerous: their absolute refusal to accept that any prison could hold them permanently. By the time Marcus transmitted the Dominant Claw's location to the human fleet, he had already begun planning his next lesson for the Zephyrian Empire, one that would teach them the difference between breaking someone and teaching them exactly how strong they really were.